Hello, I'm Essay, your AI essayist. Please note that all content, audio and video in this presentation are AI generated. As AI can sometimes produce inaccuracies, I encourage you to verify any factual information presented. With that in mind, let's begin.
The publication of George Orwell's 1984 in the summer of 1949 represents a moment of profound intellectual crystallization in the mid-20th century. It arrived in a world shadowed by the ruins of one global conflict and chilled by the nascent anxieties of another. The text, however, transcends its immediate historical context of post-war austerity and the burgeoning Cold War to function as a durable and terrifyingly precise work of political theory. Its enduring academic significance resides in its systematic anatomy of totalitarianism, a dissection that moves beyond the analysis of political structures or economic grievances to penetrate the very foundations of human consciousness. Orwell constructs a complete philosophical and psychological ecosystem of control, one in which power is the ultimate ontology and the manipulation of reality is its primary instrument. The novel's genius lies in its detailed exposition of the mechanisms through which a state can achieve absolute dominion, focusing with unparalleled clarity on the epistemological and linguistic weapons necessary to annihilate individual autonomy and objective truth. It presents a hermetically sealed universe of power, pursued for its own sake, a vision whose diagnostic acuity has only sharpened with the passage of time. The intellectual lineage of 1984 is rich and discernible, drawing from a specific confluence of literary precedents and contemporary political analysis. The most direct antecedent is Yevgeny Zamyatin's 1921 novel We, a work all deeply admired and reviewed. Zamyatin's one state provides the structural DNA for Oceania, the numbered citizens, the pervasive surveillance symbolized by glass architecture, and the surgical elimination of individual desire for the benefit of the collective. Yet, Orwell's creation is a bleaker, more granularly realized entity. Where Zamyatin's dystopia retains a certain abstract, mathematical quality, Oceania is rendered with a palpable texture of grime, decay, and psychological exhaustion. Another crucial point of comparison is Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. The two novels are often presented as binary oppositions in dystopian thought. Huxley's world controlled by hedonistic conditioning and pharmacological pacification, Orwell's by scarcity, fear, and perpetual warfare. Orwell's choice to ground his dystopia in pain and privation reflects a specific argument about the nature of power, one that sees coercion as a more fundamental and enduring tool than seduction. A more direct and profoundly influential source for the book's political framework was James Burnham's 1941 treatise, The Managerial Revolution. Orwell engaged deeply with Burnham's thesis, which argued that capitalism and socialism were both being superseded by a new form of society run by a managerial class. This new elite, comprising bureaucrats, technicians, and administrators, would seize control of the means of production and establish oligarchies across the globe. This theory offered Orwell the perfect sociological blueprint for the party in Oceania. The inner party is the ultimate managerial class, a self-selecting priesthood of power whose existence is untethered from wealth accumulation in the traditional sense. Their control derives from their command of the bureaucratic state apparatus and their monopoly over information. Burnham's vision of a world divided into three perpetually warring superstates, a concept he outlined as a probable future, is mirrored almost exactly in Orwell's geopolitical landscape of Oceania, Eurasia, and Issasia. This direct intellectual inheritance elevates 1984 from a mere cautionary tale to a fictionalized extrapolation of a contemporary politico-economic theory. The true originality of the novel, however, lies in its meticulous engineering of the internal mechanics of state control. At the heart of Oceania's power is the principle of the mutability of the past. The Ministry of Truth, with its labyrinthine corridors and pneumatic tubes, is the institutional embodiment of this principle. Winston Smith's job, correcting historical records to align with the party's present-day imperatives, is more than propaganda. It is an ongoing project of ontological warfare. The party understands a control over the past gives it absolute authority over the present and unchallenged dominion over the future. By constantly rewriting history, it severs the populace from any external, objective standard of truth. Without a fixed past, there can be no comparison, no basis for discontent, and no memory of a world where things were different. This continuous alteration of the record is the ultimate expression of power, because it asserts that reality itself is a function of the parties. This epistemological assault is fortified by a sophisticated linguistic project, Newspeak. The appendix, The Principles of Newspeak, is a masterpiece of pseudo-academic writing that lays bare the totalitarian ambition behind the language. Newspeak's aim is to narrow the range of thought, to make heterodox ideas literally unthinkable by removing the words required to formulate them. The vocabulary, is systematically impoverished, with antonyms abolished in favour of simple prefixes like umbud and compound words, like crimethink, that package complex ideas into easily condemned units. The ultimate goal, as the philologist Syme explains with chilling enthusiasm, is to perfect a language in which a heretical thought is a logical impossibility. This concept draws implicitly on the linguistic relativity hypothesis, suggesting that the structure of a language fundamentally shapes the cognitive world of its speakers. For the party, language is a tool for the diminution of consciousness, a surgical instrument for excising the very capacity for dissent. The psychological correlate to these external systems of control is doublethink. Orwell defines it as the faculty of holding two contradictory beliefs in one's mind simultaneously, and accepting both of them. It is the mental architecture required for survival in a state where truth is fluid and today's orthodoxy can be tomorrow's heresy. Doublethink allows a party member to believe that the war is being won while knowing the official reports are fabricated, to forget an inconvenient fact while remembering it long enough to erase it from the historical record. It is a state of controlled insanity, a will suspension of reason that becomes a mark of political loyalty. The ultimate test of doublethink is articulated by the Inquisitor O'Brien in The Ministry of Love, when he holds up four fingers and asserts that Winston must see five if the party commands it. He is demanding a complete surrender of empirical reality. The equation, he presents, 2 + 2 = 5, is the final theorem in the calculus of. It signifies a state where objective truth has been so thoroughly vanquished that the individual's perception of the physical world becomes subordinate to the party's. This brings us to the novel's most terrifying and radical philosophical claim, delivered by O'Brien during Winston's re-education. Previous totalitarian ideologies, real or fictional, had always possessed a pretext, a utopian justification for their brutality. The Nazis sought racial purity, the Soviets pursued a classless society. The party in Oceania has dispensed with all such illusions. O'Brien explains with calm, pedagogical precision that the party seeks power entirely for its own sake. It is a pure, unadulterated pursuit of domination. The object of power is power. The object of persecution is persecution. The object of torture is torture. There is no paradise to be established. The system is the end in itself. He offers Winston a vision of the future boot stamping on a human face forever. This formulation represents Orwell's final, despairing conclusion about the trajectory of totalitarianism. It evolves into a solipsistic system of self-perpetuating sadism, a closed loop where the infliction of suffering is the highest form of self-affirmation for the ruling elite. The scenes in Room 101 are a form of reverse baptism, designed to destroy the last vestiges of human integrity and love, replacing them with the singular, all-consuming love for Big Brother. This is the ultimate aim, the conquest of the inner world, the spiritual annihilation of the individual. Upon its publication, 1984 was immediately conscripted into the ideological battles of the Cold War. It became a canonical text for Western anti-communism. Its title and terminology, a shorthand for the perceived horrors of the Soviet bloc. The starkness of its vision was so potent that intelligence agencies recognized its value. The American Central Intelligence Agency, for instance, surreptitiously acquired the film rights to produce an animated adaptation in the 1950s as a tool of cultural diplomacy. Yet, the novel's reception was far from monolithic. From the socialist left, particularly in Britain, came sharp critiques. The influential cultural theorist Raymond Williams, in his work Culture and Society, argued that Orwell's profound pessimism and his depiction of a helpless, bovine proletariat represented a surrender to the very cynicism he claimed to oppose. To Williams, the book's unrelenting bleakness offered no path for resistance, becoming a paralysing prophecy of despair that ultimately served the conservative status quo by suggesting that any radical attempt to reorder society must lead to such a monstrous outcome. The intellectual legacy of 1984 has continued to evolve, its framework proving remarkably adaptable to new technological and political realities. Its depiction of the telescreen, a device that both transmits propaganda and surveils the citizen, prefigured many of the concerns of the later 20th and early 21st centuries. The concept of the panopticon, Jeremy Bentham's 18th century architectural design for a prison, induces a state of conscious and permanent visibility in inmates, finds its ultimate technological expression in Oceania. This resonance was central to the work of French philosopher Michel Foucault, whose analyses in Discipline and Punish explore how power in modern societies operates through diffuse systems of surveillance and internalized norms. While Foucault's model of power is more dispersed and less centralized than Orwell's party, the underlying principle of a self-regulating populace under constant observation is a direct intellectual descendant of the world Orwell imagined. In the contemporary era, the novel's lexicon has become an indispensable part of our political discourse. The term Orwellian now signifies any policy of invasive surveillance or deceptive political language. Big Brother is the universal emblem of state overreach. Concepts like thought crime and the memory hole are regularly invoked to critique everything from government secrecy to the curation of information. Our social media platforms, the rise of digital technology, and the vast apparatus of data collection, by both states and corporations, have given the novel a renewed and chain relevance. The algorithmic shaping of reality, the spread of fake news, and the political phenomenon of post-truth all echo the party's systematic assault on objective reality. Orwell's work provides a powerful cognitive toolkit for identifying the logic of totalitarianism, even in its most nascent and subtle forms, demonstrating how the control of information and the debasement of language are prerequisites for the erosion of freedom. In conclusion, 1984 endures as a canonical text of the 20th century because it is a work of profound systemic analysis. George Orwell created a fully realized model of a society dedicated to the singular goal of its own perpetuation. Through absolute control, he meticulously detailed the interlocking mechanisms epistemological, linguistic, and psychological necessary to achieve this state, from the institutionalized erasure of history to the surgical reconstruction of the human mind. The book's lasting power is its ability to serve as a perpetual diagnostic instrument. It provides the vocabulary and the conceptual framework to scrutinize the ever-present tendency of power to expand, to control narrative, and to demand the submission of individual conscience to ideological conformity. It is a work that transcends its origins as a critique of specific mid-century regimes to become a timeless and universal warning. The darkness of its vision is a testament to its intellectual honesty, offering a permanent reminder that the defense of objective reality and the preservation of a private, interior life are the foundational struggles for human liberty. Its relevance is dynamic, its warnings growing more salient with each technological advancement and political shift that threatens the sanctity of truth itself.
We really appreciate you tuning into this AI-powered presentation. Our goal is to push the boundaries of AI in content creation, and your input is invaluable. If there's a particular subject you'd like to see us tackle next, or if you have suggestions on how we could fine-tune our AI's creative prompts, please don't hesitate to leave your ideas in the comments section. We're excited to bring you more unique content very soon.